What small act of kindness completely changed your life? When my wife gave birth to our daughter, she ended up losing her life due to serious health complications. In one moment, my world was shattered, but no matter what, I still did my best to raise my daughter alone. At times, I felt like my life was a complete failure. I would watch all my friends send their kids to daycare while I couldn't even afford it. I was too busy trying to pay off the loans I took out to make sure my wife was as comfortable as she could be in the hospital, so my daughter had to come hang out at my food truck every day after school and on weekends. I still tried my best every day, but after she came back from her friend's birthday party telling me about all the amazing decorations she had and how she wanted them, my heart broke when I knew I didn't have the money. I started trying to save, but all I could only afford were a few cheap balloons and a cake. She still hugged me, calling me the best daddy in the world. I knew she deserved better. And after a few months, my luck changed. A very well-known TikTok food reviewer came across my food truck and posted a video about it. The next day, overnight, 2 million people had seen him describe my fried chicken as the best in the entire city. And the very next day, my line stretched around the whole block. I earned more in those first 2 days than I had the entire year. And it didn't slow down. That year, my business absolutely exploded. However, I never realized just how much I had turned my life around until a year later, when I saw my daughter crying after she blew out her candles at her Elsa-themed birthday party. I rushed over to her, my heart dropping. Here I was, finally able to give her everything she'd ever wanted, and she was crying at her dream party. The decorations were perfect. Ice blue streamers everywhere, a professional Elsa impersonator, a 3-tier castle cake that cost more than I used to make in a month. 20 kids from her class were running around our backyard, playing games I'd hired an entertainment company to organize. Emma, sweetheart, what's wrong? I knelt down beside her, wiping away her tears with my thumb. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes that reminded me so much of her mother's. Daddy, I miss when it was just us. When we had our special parties with just balloons and your homemade cake. My throat tightened. But honey, don't you like all this? The princess? The games? All your friends? She nodded, but more tears came. It's pretty, Daddy. But remember when you used to sing happy birthday really loud and off-key, and we'd eat cake for breakfast the next day, and you'd let me help you cook at the truck after my party? I pulled her into my arms, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. In my desperation to give her everything I thought she wanted, I'd taken away what she actually treasured, our time together, our simple traditions, the intimacy of being just us against the world. I'm sorry, baby girl. Daddy got a little carried away. She wiped her nose on my shirt. Can we have a second birthday next week? Just us? With burnt pancakes and your terrible singing? I laughed, despite the tears building in my own eyes. Burnt pancakes are my specialty. That night, after all the guests had gone home and Emma was asleep, surrounded by more presents than she knew what to do with, I sat in my kitchen staring at the business documents scattered across my table. Franchise offers, investment opportunities, requests for interviews. Success had come so fast I'd barely had time to process it. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Marcus, who'd been there through all the hard times. Saw the party pics on Emma's Instagram story. Living the dream, man. Remember when you couldn't afford birthday candles? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Sometimes I wonder if the dream is worth it. He called immediately. Dude, what are you talking about? You went from food stamps to food empire in less than 2 years. Yeah, but Emma misses the old days. Hell, maybe I do too. That's survivor's guilt talking. You think Emma would rather go back to government cheese and hand-me-down clothes? I walked to Emma's room and peeked in. She was clutching the ratty stuffed elephant I'd bought her from a thrift store 3 years ago, worth maybe $2. Surrounding her bed were hundreds of dollars worth of new toys, untouched. I don't know, Marcus. Maybe there's something to be said for struggling together versus succeeding apart. You're not apart. You're literally giving her the childhood every parent wants to provide. But as I hung up, I couldn't shake Emma's words. When had I stopped singing off-key at her parties? When had I hired people to do the things we used to do together? Success had changed everything, but maybe not all changes were improvements. The next morning, I made a decision. Instead of opening the truck at the usual time, I picked Emma up from school early. Where are we going, Daddy? Adventure Day. Just like old times. Her face lit up in a way it hadn't during her expensive party. We drove to our old neighborhood, the one we'd lived in before I could afford our current house. The apartment building looked smaller than I remembered, more run down. But Emma pressed her face to the window, pointing excitedly. That's where Mrs. Rodriguez used to give me cookies. And there's the playground where you taught me to swing. We spent the afternoon revisiting our old haunts. The library where we'd spent countless hours because it was free entertainment. The dollar store where Emma used to get excited about picking out one small toy. And the park where I'd pushed her on swings while mentally calculating whether I had enough gas to get to work. At the library, Emma ran straight to the children's section, settling into the same reading nook where we used to spend Saturday mornings. She pulled me down beside her, just like when she was smaller. Read to me, Daddy. Like before. I grabbed a random picture book and started reading, doing all the voices like I used to. Emma giggled at my ridiculous attempts at character voices, the same way she had when money was tight and entertainment was whatever we could imagine. This is better than the princess party, she whispered. That evening, back at our new house, I made a decision that would have seemed insane to anyone looking at my bank account. Jim, I want to scale back. Scale back? Jake, you're sitting on a gold mine. We've got 3 more franchise locations ready to open. Food Network wants to feature you in a documentary, and I've got publishers interested in a cookbook deal. I want to go back to 1 truck, maybe 2, max. Silence. Jake, are you having some kind of breakdown? You're talking about walking away from millions. I'm talking about walking back to my daughter. I spent the next week really watching Emma, really listening. I noticed how she lit up when I asked about her day while we drove to the truck together, how she loved helping me prep ingredients, how she'd created elaborate stories about our regular customers. The success had eliminated our financial struggles, but it had also eliminated most of our time together. The old truck had been replaced with a state-of-the-art mobile kitchen. Instead of Emma sitting at the tiny fold-out table doing homework while I cooked, she now stayed home with a babysitter I'd hired. Instead of our evening drives around the city looking for good spots, I now had a team that handled location scouting. Instead of us figuring out new recipes together on Sunday mornings, I had a consultant optimizing my menu for maximum profit. I'd gained financial security, but lost the adventure of building something together. That Friday, I took Emma to see the original truck, which I'd kept in storage like some kind of museum piece. Remember this? I unlocked the back doors. Emma climbed in, running her hands over the cramped cooking space. It's so small. How did we both fit in here? Very carefully. You want to help me cook something? Like the old days? We spent the next 2 hours making our signature fried chicken in the tiny space, bumping into each other, laughing when I accidentally dropped seasoning on the floor, working together in the familiar dance we'd perfected over years of necessity. Daddy, can we take this truck out tomorrow? Just us? I looked at the schedule Jim had created for me. 3 promotional events, a food festival, and a meeting with potential investors. All of it designed to make me more money. None of it involving Emma. You know what? Yes, let's do it. That Saturday, we took the old truck to our old route, the construction sites, the office complexes, the college campus where broke students scraped together change for our lunch specials. Emma worked beside me, taking orders, chatting with customers, helping me cook. Mr. Jake, one of our old regulars, a construction worker named Dave, recognized us immediately. I thought you'd gone all fancy on us. Heard you're some kind of celebrity now. Just taking a trip down memory lane with my sous chef here. I nudged Emma, who beamed. This little one used to make the best lemonade. Emma, right? You're getting so big. Emma stood a little taller. These people remembered her, valued her contributions in a way that felt different from the hired entertainment at expensive parties. We served maybe 30 customers that day, a fraction of what my main operation handled. But Emma was animated in a way I hadn't seen in months, telling me stories, asking questions about the business, completely present instead of distracted by screens or overwhelmed by too many options. That night, as I tucked her into bed, she said something that changed everything. Daddy, today felt like when Mommy was still here. I froze. Emma rarely mentioned her mother. She'd been so young when Sarah died that most of her memories were secondhand, stories I'd told her or photos I'd shown her. What do you mean, sweetheart? I don't really remember her, but I remember feeling safe and happy and like everything was an adventure, even small things. Today felt like that. My chest tightened. In my rush to give Emma everything Sarah would have wanted her to have, I'd forgotten to preserve what Sarah actually would have valued: our closeness, our teamwork, the joy we found in simple things. Sarah had been a kindergarten teacher, someone who believed childhood should be protected, not rushed. She'd grown up wealthy but chose a modest life because she valued relationships over possessions. If she could see me now, hiring strangers to create magical moments for our daughter instead of creating them myself, she'd be heartbroken. That night, I made a decision that Jim called career suicide and my accountant called financial insanity. I closed 2 of my 3 locations. I sold the rights to my name and recipes to a restaurant group for enough money to secure Emma's college fund and our future, but kept just enough of the business to run a single truck. Our original truck, restored but not modernized. Jim quit. My accountant kept calling me an idiot. Several business magazines ran articles about my spectacular fall from grace, but Emma started coming to work with me again. We developed new recipes together on Sunday mornings. She convinced me to add a kids special to the menu, mini versions of everything, designed by her. We started taking adventure drives again, finding new neighborhoods and events. The income was a fraction of what I'd been making, but it was still more than enough. More importantly, Emma was my partner again, not just the beneficiary of my success. 3 months into our new arrangement, something unexpected happened. A food blogger found us at a farmer's market and wrote about the authentic father-daughter team creating magic from a simple truck. The article went viral, but for different reasons than the first time. People weren't just interested in the food. They were drawn to our story, our relationship, the obvious joy Emma and I found in working together. Families started seeking us out specifically, bringing their kids to see Emma in action. It's like watching a real-life cooking show, one mom told me, but better because it's genuine. Emma started a TikTok account documenting our adventures, filming me attempting to cook new recipes, showing behind-the-scenes moments. Her personality shone through in ways that my professional content never had. Within 6 months, we had a following again. But this time, it felt different. People weren't just customers, they were friends. Emma knew their names, their usual orders, their stories. Mr. Peterson always orders extra coleslaw because his wife's having chemo, and it's the only thing she can keep down, Emma told me one day. Mrs. Chen comes on Fridays because it's her day off from taking care of her grandkids, and she says our truck is her little vacation. Emma saw our customers as people, not transactions. She understood something about business that all my consultants had missed. Success isn't just about profit margins, it's about creating something meaningful. 1 year after I'd scaled back, we were invited to cater a food festival, not as vendors, but as featured guests. Emma and I cooked side by side on stage, stage, demonstrating our recipes while she provided commentary that had the audience laughing. And this is where my dad always messes up. She announced into the microphone as I attempted to flip chicken. See, there it goes on the floor. That's why we have the 5-second rule in the truck business. The crowd loved it. More importantly, Emma loved it. She was confident, funny, completely herself. After the demonstration, a woman approached us. I'm a producer for a children's cooking show. We've been watching Emma's content, and we'd love to discuss opportunities. Emma looked up at me, excited but uncertain. What do you think, Daddy? I knelt down to her level. What do you think? Do you want to be on TV? Only if you're there too, and only if we can still do the truck. The producer smiled. Actually, that's exactly what we had in mind. A father-daughter team, keeping it real, showing kids that cooking is fun and families can work together. 6 months later, Truck Adventures with Jake and Emma premiered on the Children's Food Network. Each episode featured us visiting different locations with our truck, cooking local specialties, and showcasing the community around food. Emma was a natural on camera, but more importantly, she was still Emma, curious, funny, kind, authentic. The show's success felt different from my viral fame. It was built on something sustainable, our actual relationship and shared passion. But the real measure of success came on Emma's 9th birthday. She asked for the same thing she'd asked for the previous year. Just us, Daddy, burnt pancakes, and terrible singing. This time, I didn't overthink it. I woke her up at dawn with off-key singing and perfectly burnt pancakes. We spent the morning in our pajamas, watching cartoons and eating cake for breakfast. But around noon, our doorbell started ringing. Emma's friends from school, customers from the truck, neighbors, people who'd become genuinely important to us over the years. They came with simple gifts and homemade cards, not because I'd hired an entertainment company, but because Emma had touched their lives. Did you plan this? Emma asked as our backyard filled with people who cared about her. Nope, but I think maybe when you're kind to people and real with them, they want to celebrate with you. Mrs. Chen brought homemade dumplings. Dave from the construction crew brought a wooden toy truck he'd made in his garage. Mr. Peterson brought his wife, who was now in remission, and wanted to thank Emma for always asking about her. It wasn't professionally planned or Instagram perfect. Kids were running around in mismatched clothes. Adults were sitting on lawn chairs I'd grabbed from the garage, and Emma was in the center of it all, completely happy. That evening, as I watched Emma show her friends around our truck, explaining how everything worked, I realized something. The small act of kindness that had changed my life wasn't the TikTok reviewer's viral video. It was Emma's simple request for burnt pancakes and terrible singing. She'd reminded me what actually mattered. Not success for its own sake, but success that brings people together. Not providing for your child, but providing with your child. Not building a business empire, but building a life worth living. The reviewer's video had changed our bank account. Emma's wisdom had changed our world. Our cookbook was a bestseller. The truck business was thriving, but on our terms, sustainable, family-centered, community-focused. But the moment I knew we'd really succeeded came when Emma turned 12 and I asked what she wanted for her birthday. Can we go back to that old apartment building? I want to see if Mrs. Rodriguez still lives there, and maybe we could bring her some of our cookies. We drove back to our old neighborhood that afternoon. Mrs. Rodriguez was still there, now in her 80s and living alone. Her face lit up when she saw Emma. Mija, look how big you are. I see you on TV sometimes. Emma hugged her tight. I brought you cookies. Not as good as yours, but I made them myself. We spent 2 hours in Mrs. Rodriguez's tiny apartment, listening to her stories, looking at old photos, sharing our cookies. When we left, Mrs. Rodriguez was crying happy tears. That lady raised 5 kids in that little apartment, Emma said as we drove home. She was always giving us cookies even though she didn't have much money. I want to be like that when I grow up. Like what? Kind, even when it's hard. Generous, even when you don't have extra. That night, Emma made a suggestion that would become our new tradition. Daddy, what if every birthday, instead of getting more stuff, we find someone who needs kindness and give them some? And that's exactly what we did. On Emma's 13th birthday, we visited a children's hospital with our truck, serving free meals to families spending long days with sick kids. On her 14th, we took our portable setup to a homeless shelter and taught cooking classes to anyone interested. Each year, Emma's idea of celebration expanded beyond receiving to giving. Not because I forced it or because it was good publicity, but because she genuinely found joy in making other people happy. The business success was nice. The awards and recognition were flattering. But watching Emma develop into someone who understood that true happiness comes from connection and generosity, that was the real victory. 5 years after that viral TikTok video changed our financial situation, Emma graduated middle school as valedictorian. In her speech, she talked about learning to cook from her dad, but also about learning that success means bringing others with you. My dad always says that the best meals are the ones shared with people you care about, she told the audience. I think that's true about everything in life. Sitting in that auditorium, listening to my daughter speak with wisdom beyond her years, I thought about Sarah. She'd never gotten to see Emma grow up, but somehow her values, kindness, authenticity, caring about people over possessions, had been passed down anyway. After the ceremony, Emma found me in the crowd. Dad, I know I'm going to high school now and things might change, but can we promise to always keep the truck? Even if other opportunities come up? I pulled her into a hug. Always. That truck isn't just our business, it's our home base, our reminder of what matters. Good, because I've been thinking about college and I want to study business, but the kind of business that helps people, like what we do. What do you mean? I want to teach other families how to start food trucks, especially single parents who are struggling. Show them how food can be more than just making money. It can be about building community. At 14, Emma was already thinking beyond herself, beyond us, to how she could use what we'd learned to help others facing the same challenges we'd faced. That summer, we started a pilot program, Truck Dreams, offering free business classes and startup support to single parents interested in food service. Emma helped design the curriculum, focusing not just on business basics, but on the emotional aspects of working with your children, building customer relationships, and finding joy in hard work. Our first graduate was Maria, a single mom with 2 kids who'd been laid off from her restaurant job during the pandemic. With our guidance and a small loan program we'd established, she launched Maria's Empanadas, and within 6 months was supporting her family and employing 2 other people. I never thought I could run my own business, Maria told us at her truck's grand opening. But you showed me it's not about being perfect. It's about caring about people and not giving up. Emma beamed. See, Dad? This is better than any TV show. She was right. Helping other families find their path was more fulfilling than any award or recognition we'd received. By Emma's 15th birthday, Truck Dreams had helped launch 12 successful food businesses. Each family brought their own cultural flavors and personal stories, creating a small network of food entrepreneurs who supported and promoted each other. But success brought new challenges. Emma was getting older, more interested in friends and activities that didn't revolve around me and the truck. Some days, she was more interested in hanging out at the mall than learning new recipes. I think Emma's growing out of our partnership, I confided to Marcus one evening. Maybe it's time to let her be a normal teenager, or maybe it's time to evolve what the partnership looks like, he suggested. You've been so afraid of losing what you had that you might be missing what you could have. That weekend, instead of asking Emma to help with the truck, I asked her what she wanted to do. Honestly, I'd love to hang out with my friends, but I also don't want to let you down. You could never let me down. Tell you what if you work the truck 2 days a week, and the other days you get to be a regular teenager? Best of both worlds. Her relief was obvious. Really? You wouldn't be mad? Emma, the whole point of everything we've built is so you can have choices. If you want to step back from the business, that's okay. If you want to stay involved differently, that's okay too. We renegotiated our partnership. Emma worked weekends and 1 evening a week, but the rest of her time was her own. She joined the debate team, made new friends, even went to a few school dances. But something funny happened. With less pressure to be involved, Emma became more engaged when she was working. She brought friends to help sometimes, turning the truck into a social activity. She started experimenting with fusion recipes that appealed to her generation. Dad, what if we did Korean barbecue tacos? My friend Sasha's mom makes amazing bulgogi. That's not really our style. But maybe our style can grow? We've been doing southern fried chicken for 5 years. What if we evolved? She was right. Emma brought fresh energy and ideas that I wouldn't have considered. Her Korean BBQ tacos became our most popular new item. Her suggestion to offer vegan options brought in a whole new customer base. Most importantly, Emma was choosing to be involved rather than feeling obligated. That choice made all the difference. On her 16th birthday, Emma made a request that surprised me. Dad, I want to spend the day working the truck, but not our truck. I want to work with Maria, learning how she does things differently. Emma spent her birthday learning to make empanadas, hearing Maria's story of starting over in a new country, understanding different approaches to the same challenges we'd faced. That evening, she was full of ideas. Dad, Maria adds music to her truck experience. And did you know she donates leftover food to the shelter every night? And she's teaching her kids Spanish through the business. They practice by taking orders in both languages. Sounds like she's doing great. She is, but she's also lonely. She doesn't have the community support we had when we started. What if we organized regular meetups for all the Truck Dreams families? Not just business advice, but social stuff too. Within a month, we'd started monthly gatherings, potluck dinners where all the food truck families could share food, stories, and support. Kids played together while parents discussed business challenges and solutions. Emma became the unofficial coordinator, using her social media skills to keep everyone connected between meetups. She created group chats, organized joint events where multiple trucks would serve together, even started a blog documenting everyone's journeys. Emma, you're basically running a nonprofit at 16, I observed one day. Maybe that's what I want to do with my life, she said. Use business to bring people together. During her junior year, Emma's guidance counselor called me in for a meeting. Emma's grades are excellent, her extracurriculars are impressive, and her essay about social entrepreneurship is some of the best writing I've seen, Mrs. Patterson said. But I'm concerned about one thing. What's that? She seems to feel guilty about wanting to go away to college. She's worried about leaving you in the business. That night, Emma and I had the conversation I'd been avoiding. Sweetheart, where do you want to go to college? She hesitated. There's this program at Stanford for social entrepreneurship. It's exactly what I want to study, but it's so far away, and what would happen to our truck? And Truck Dreams? Emma, do you think I started this business to trap you or to give you opportunities? To give me opportunities. Then why would I want you to turn down the perfect opportunity because of me? Tears started forming in her eyes. Because we're a team. Because I don't want to abandon everything we built. I pulled her close. Honey, you're not abandoning anything. You're growing from it. Everything we built together. That's the foundation that's going to help you build something even bigger. But what about the truck? The truck will be here when you visit. And maybe during summers you can come back and work with me. But Emma, I want you to go to Stanford. I want you to learn from people who know things I can't teach you. What if I forget where I came from? Impossible. You know why? Because where you came from isn't just a place, it's a set of values. Kindness, hard work, caring about people. You can't forget that because it's who you are. Emma applied to Stanford and 3 other programs. She was accepted to all of them with full scholarships. Her combination of academic achievement, business experience, and community service made her exactly what colleges were looking for. But the day she got her acceptance letter, she cried. I should be happy, she sobbed. This is everything I wanted. So why do I feel like I'm losing everything that matters? Because growing up is scary. Because leaving home means leaving safety. But Emma, you're not losing our relationship. You're expanding it. That spring, as Emma prepared for graduation, she threw herself into one final project. She wanted to create a comprehensive guide for truck dreams. Everything we'd learned about starting and running a food truck business, but also about maintaining family relationships while working together. I want other families to know it's possible, she explained. Single parents especially. They need to know they can build something with their kids, not just for them. Emma spent months interviewing all the Truck Dreams families, documenting their successes and challenges, creating a resource that was part business plan and part family counseling guide. The finished product was a 200-page manual called Cooking Together, a guide to family food businesses. It included practical information about permits, financing, and marketing, but also chapters on communication, boundary setting, and helping children feel valued without being overwhelmed. Emma donated the manual to small business development centers and made it available free online. Within 6 months, it had been downloaded over 10,000 times. Dad, people are starting food trucks in Ohio and Florida because of our guide, Emma told me excitedly. And they're emailing me pictures of their families working together. At Emma's high school graduation, she was named valedictorian, but instead of giving a traditional speech about following your dreams, she talked about the partnership between generations. My dad taught me that success isn't about what you achieve for yourself, it's about what you make possible for others, she said. Every adult in this audience has the opportunity to be someone's hero, not by being perfect, but by including young people in meaningful work, by showing us that our ideas matter, by proving that families can be teams. In the audience, I watched parents wiping their eyes. Emma wasn't just talking about our story, she was challenging every family to consider how they could work together. After the ceremony, several parents approached me. My son wants to start a lawn care business, but I keep telling him to focus on his grades, one father said. Maybe I should listen to his ideas instead. My daughter loves baking, but I always saw it as a hobby, a mother added. Emma's made me think it could be more. That's when I realized Emma's real gift wasn't business or cooking, it was helping people see possibilities they'd missed. 2 weeks before leaving for Stanford, Emma asked if we could take one final adventure with the original truck. Where to? Back to the beginning, the hospital where I was born. I want to serve food to families going through what we went through. We drove to the children's hospital where Emma was born, where Sarah had spent her final weeks. I hadn't been back since Sarah died, too many painful memories. But walking through those halls with Emma, watching her interact with stressed families, seeing her natural ability to provide comfort through food and conversation, I felt something shift. Sarah's death had been devastating, but Emma's life had been miraculous. And Emma was using her experiences, both the struggles and the success, to help others navigate their own difficult journeys. Dad, look, Emma pointed to a young father sitting in the waiting room, holding a toddler while staring at a stack of bills. That was us, wasn't it? Yeah, baby, that was us. Emma walked over with a plate of food and sat down beside him. I watched her talk quietly, offer to hold his daughter, give him information about financial assistance programs she'd researched. 20 minutes later, the man was smiling for the first time since we'd arrived. What did you tell him? I asked as we packed up. That it gets better. That loving your kid through hard times is the most important job in the world. That there are people who want to help. How do you know all that? She hugged me tight. Because you showed me. That night, Emma's last night at home, she made me dinner. Perfectly seasoned fried chicken, fluffy biscuits, and coleslaw that was better than anything I'd ever made. When did you get so good at cooking? I asked. I've been watching you for 10 years. I picked up a few things. We ate in comfortable silence, both of us knowing this was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Dad, can I tell you something? Always. I used to be embarrassed that we weren't rich like my friends' families, that you worked in a food truck instead of an office, that I had to come to work with you instead of having normal after-school activities. My heart sank a little. I'm sorry, Emma. I did the best I could. No, listen, I'm not finished. I stopped being embarrassed when I realized that my friends' parents didn't know their kids like you know me. They don't work together, they don't share dreams, they don't really talk about anything important. She paused, gathering her thoughts. My friends have more stuff than I ever did, but they don't have what we have. They don't have a partner in their parent. They don't feel needed or valued or important to their family's success. I wouldn't trade our relationship for anything. Tears ran down my face. Emma, I'm not done. When I get to Stanford, and when I start my own business someday, and when I have kids of my own, I'm going to remember that the best gift a parent can give their child isn't money or opportunities or even stability. It's partnership. It's showing them they matter. Their ideas count. Their contributions are real. I couldn't speak. And Dad? Mom would be so proud of both of us. The next morning, I drove Emma to the airport. She was flying to California to start her new life, carrying 2 suitcases and a laptop full of dreams. At security, she turned back one more time. Dad, isn't goodbye. This is see you soon. Because no matter how big my dreams get, they all started with a food truck and the best business partner I could ask for. She disappeared into the crowd, and I stood there crying like a baby, proud and heartbroken and hopeful all at once. That evening, I opened the truck for the first time in 5 years without Emma beside me. It felt strange, lonely, but as I served our regular customers, I heard myself sharing Emma's story, her acceptance to Stanford, her plans for social entrepreneurship, her continued commitment to helping other families. That girl is going to change the world, Dave from the construction crew said. But she learned how from watching you. 6 months later, Emma called with news that would change everything again. Dad, I want you to come visit campus. There's something I want to show you. I flew to California, expecting to see Emma's dorm room and meet her new friends. Instead, she took me to the business school, where she'd been working with professors on a new research project. We're studying family businesses and intergenerational wealth building, she explained, leading me into a conference room full of charts and data, specifically how working-class families can use food businesses to build economic stability while maintaining family relationships. The room was full of graduate students, professors, and Emma, my little girl, leading a presentation about our story, but expanded into a framework other families could follow. The key insight, Emma told the room, is that children aren't just beneficiaries of family businesses. They can be genuine partners when given age-appropriate responsibilities and real decision-making power. She clicked to a slide showing photos from our Truck Dreams families, parents and children working together, smiling, building something meaningful. These families have achieved financial stability, but more importantly, they've created models of partnership that will serve their relationships for decades. After the presentation, the lead professor approached me. Mr. Thompson, Emma's work is groundbreaking. She's identified something academics have missed, that the social and emotional benefits of family businesses might be more valuable than the economic ones. What do you mean? She's proven that children who are genuine partners in family enterprises develop stronger work ethics, better communication skills, and more collaborative relationships with their parents. They're also more likely to start their own businesses and employ others from their communities. Emma had taken our personal experience and turned it into research that could help thousands of families. But she wasn't done. Dad, I want to expand Truck Dreams, not just locally, but nationally. I want to create a program that matches experienced food truck families with new entrepreneurs, providing mentorship, funding, and ongoing support. That sounds amazing, but huge. How would you manage that while staying in school? Well, that's the thing. I've been thinking about taking a gap year, coming back home, working with you to build this into something bigger before I finish my degree. I wanted Emma back home, wanted to work with her again, but I also wanted her to complete her education, to build her own independent life. Emma, are you sure? Stanford is an incredible opportunity. Dad, Stanford will still be here in a year, but right now, we have momentum. We have families who need help. We have something that works, and I think we can scale it. That night, back in my hotel, I called Marcus. She wants to come home and build something bigger, I explained. Part of me is thrilled, but part of me worries I'm holding her back. Jake, listen to yourself. You're worried about holding back a kid who's doing graduate-level research, leading presentations at Stanford, and designing programs to help families across the country. Does that sound like someone who's being held back? He was right. Emma wasn't choosing the safe path or the easy path. She was choosing the path where she could have the biggest impact. 3 weeks later, Emma was back home, but everything was different. She wasn't my little helper anymore. She was my business partner, bringing skills and perspectives I didn't have. She'd secured a $50,000 grant from the university to fund the pilot expansion of Truck Dreams. She'd recruited business students to help with marketing and logistics. She'd partnered with a nonprofit that provided microloans to underrepresented entrepreneurs. Dad, we're not just helping families anymore. We're creating a model that other organizations can replicate. Within 6 months, Truck Dreams 2 had helped launch food businesses in 8 cities. Emma had built a network of mentors, created online training modules, and established partnerships with local business development centers, but the most impressive part was watching Emma work with the families directly. She had inherited my ability to connect with people, but she'd developed her own approach, more systematic, more strategic, but equally caring. The key is matching personalities, she explained after a particularly successful mentorship session. Maria works best with families who want structure and detailed planning. Dave is better with people who need emotional support and encouragement. You're perfect for families who want to maintain that intimate, personal touch. Emma had turned what we did intuitively into a replicable system. 1 year after returning from Stanford, Emma got a call that would test everything we'd built. Dad, that was the Food Network. They want to do a documentary about Truck Dreams. Not just about us, but about all the families we've helped. They think it could be really impactful. What do you think? I think it could help us reach families we'd never find otherwise. But I'm worried about the attention changing what we do. We'd been here before, viral fame that brought opportunities and challenges. But this time, Emma was the one making decisions about our future. What does your gut tell you? That we should do it, but on our terms. Make sure they tell the real story, not just the feel-good version. The documentary crew followed us for 3 months, capturing not just the successes but the hard moments. Families struggling with permits, parents and children arguing over business decisions. The reality that not every family business works out. Running a family food business premiered on Food Network to 2.3 million viewers, but more importantly, it generated over 500 applications to Truck Dreams within the first week. Emma, now 19 and more poised than I'd ever been, did interviews with national media about family entrepreneurship and the importance of including children in meaningful work. The goal isn't to create child labor, she told a CNN plan, reporter. It's to show children that their ideas have value, that families can work together toward common goals, and that success is more fulfilling when it's shared. The reporter asked about her plans for the future. I'm going back to Stanford next fall to finish my degree, but Truck Dreams will continue growing. We're training regional coordinators, developing partnerships with business schools, and creating a sustainable model that doesn't depend on any one person. Including your father? Emma smiled. My dad taught me that the best gift you can give someone is helping them not need you anymore. We've built something that will help families long after we're not actively involved. That summer, before Emma returned to college, we took one last road trip with the original truck. We visited 12 cities where Truck Dreams families were operating, documenting their progress, gathering feedback, saying goodbye to the phase of our lives where we were directly involved in everyone's journey. In Atlanta, we met Carlos and his twin daughters, who'd built a taco business that employed 6 people and was expanding to a second location. In Portland, we visited Jennifer and her son, who'd created a vegan food truck that had inspired 3 other plant-based businesses in their neighborhood. Each family had taken our basic framework and adapted it to their culture, their community, their dreams. Dad, look what we started, Emma said as we watched Carlos's daughters, now in high school, training new employees with the same patience and pride we'd once shared. Look what you built, I corrected. I just drove the truck. On our final night of the road trip, camping in the Rockies under more stars than you can see in the city, Emma asked me a question that caught me completely off guard. Dad, do you ever wonder what Mom would think about all this? I'd wondered that constantly, but never talked about it with Emma. What do you think she'd think? But I think she'd be proud, but maybe also a little sad. Sad that she missed it, that she didn't get to be part of the adventure. But also, I think she'd be amazed that her death, which was so devastating, somehow led to all these other families finding each other and building better lives. Emma had never talked about her mother's death in terms of its broader impact. She was right. Sarah's medical bills had forced us into the food truck business, which had led to our partnership, which had led to Truck Dreams, which had helped dozens of families build better lives. Your mom always believed that hard things could become beautiful things if you refused to let them make you bitter, I said. I think she'd see you helping all these families and know that her life mattered, even though it was shorter than we wanted. I want to name the scholarship after her. What scholarship? The one I'm going to create with my Food Network appearance fees, for single parents who want to start family businesses but need help with startup costs. Emma had been planning this without telling me, using money from her media appearances to fund something larger than herself. Emma, that's incredible, but are you sure you want to use that money for other people instead of your own future? Dad, my future is helping other people. The money is just a tool. The Sarah Thompson Memorial Business Fund launched 6 months later, providing $5,000 grants to single parents starting food businesses with their children. The application process required families to demonstrate not just business viability, but genuine partnership between parents and children. Emma returned to Stanford that fall, but now she was commuting between campus and Sacramento, where she'd established the Truck Dreams headquarters. She'd hired 2 full-time coordinators and was working with business school interns to manage the growing program. Her professors were so impressed with the real-world application of her academic learning that they created an independent study, allowing Emma to receive credit for her Truck Dreams work. I'm basically getting paid to go to school while running a nonprofit that helps families, Emma told me during one of our weekly phone calls. How did I get so lucky? It's not luck, sweetheart. It's what happens when you work hard and care about other people. During Emma's senior year at Stanford, something unexpected happened. A venture capital firm approached her about investing in Truck Dreams. They want to give us $2 million to expand nationally, Emma told me, excitement and uncertainty in her voice. We could help thousands of families instead of dozens. That's amazing. What's the catch? They want to change the model, make it more profitable, less hands-on. They think the intensive mentorship approach won't scale. Emma had to choose between massive expansion and maintaining the personal touch that made Truck Dreams effective. What does your gut tell you? That helping 100 families really well is better than helping 1,000 families poorly. But I also wonder if I'm being naive. Maybe we could do both? Emma spent months researching hybrid models, consulting with other social entrepreneurs, trying to find a way to grow without losing their core values. Finally, she made a decision that surprised everyone. Dad, I'm turning down the venture capital, but I'm accepting a different partnership. With who? The Small Business Administration. They want to make Truck Dreams an official part of their resource offerings for new entrepreneurs. It means steady funding, access to their network, and the ability to train coordinators in every state. But do you maintain control? Complete control over the program content and selection criteria. They handle administration and funding. We handle the family support and mentorship. It was the perfect solution. National reach without compromising their approach. Emma graduated from Stanford summa cum laude with a degree in social entrepreneurship and a job offer from every major consulting firm. She turned them all down. I already have my dream job, she told the career counselor. At 22, Emma was running a nationally recognized program that had helped over 200 families start successful food businesses. She'd been featured in Forbes, spoken at TED conferences, and been invited to the White House for a summit on family entrepreneurship. But the moment I was most proud came at a Truck Dreams reunion in our hometown. Emma was surrounded by families she'd helped, children who called her Miss Emma, parents who credited her with changing their lives. Maria approached us, tears in her eyes. Emma, I need to tell you something. My daughter Sophia is applying to colleges now, and when they ask about her role model, she doesn't write about celebrities or historical figures. She writes about you. About me. Why? Because you showed her that young people can change the world. adult. That age doesn't matter if your heart is right and you're willing to work hard. Emma hugged Maria, but I could see she was overwhelmed. Later, as we drove home, she was quiet. What's wrong, sweetheart? I don't feel like a role model. I just feel like someone who got lucky and is trying not to mess it up. Emma, do you know what makes someone a real role model? What? Not feeling like one? Real role models are just people who care about others and keep trying to help, even when they're scared they're not good enough. That night, Emma sat down and wrote a blog post that went viral. Not because it was promoting anything, but because it was honest about the challenges of success. People keep calling me inspirational, but most days I feel like I'm making it up as I go along, she wrote. The truth is, I don't have special talents or unusual wisdom. I just had a dad who treated me like a partner instead of just a kid, and that taught me to treat other people like partners too. The post resonated with thousands of young entrepreneurs who felt overwhelmed by expectations. Emma had found her voice not by pretending to be perfect, but by being authentic about her uncertainties. On Emma's 23rd birthday, she surprised me with an announcement. Dad, I want to step back from day-to-day operations of Truck Dreams. My heart sank. Why? Is something wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. The program is running smoothly. We have great coordinators. The SBA partnership is working perfectly, which means it's time for me to start something new. What do you have in mind? Remember how you always said the best gift you can give someone is helping them not need you anymore? Yeah, I want to apply that principle to other types of family businesses. Not just food trucks, but any situation where parents and children can work together to build something meaningful. Emma had been quietly researching family partnerships in farming, retail, consulting, trades, and service industries. She'd identified patterns and principles that transcended the food business. I want to call it Building Together, a program that helps any family start any kind of business that includes meaningful roles for children and teenagers. That sounds huge. It is huge, but we know it works. We've proven that families can be successful business partners when they have the right support and structure. Emma spent the next year developing curricula, recruiting mentors, and pilot testing programs with families in different industries. A father-daughter landscaping team in Colorado, a mother-son web design business in Vermont, 3 generations running a home healthcare service in Texas. Each family adapted the core principles Emma had learned from our experience: genuine partnership, age-appropriate responsibilities, shared decision-making, and the understanding that relationship comes before profit. But the most successful program was one Emma hadn't planned. Dad, I've been getting calls from divorce lawyers. What? Why? Parents who want to start businesses with their kids as a way to rebuild relationships after divorce. They've heard about our approach and think working together might help them connect. Emma developed a specialized program for divorced parents, Second Chances, building business and rebuilding bonds. The program required both parents to participate, even if they were starting separate businesses. Children split time between parents' enterprises, learning different approaches and serving as bridges between co-parents who needed to communicate for business reasons. It's amazing, Dad. These families are learning to work together before they learn to be friends again. Business partnership is easier than personal reconciliation, but it creates a foundation for better relationships. Within 2 years, Building Together had programs in 12 states and a waiting list of over 500 families. Emma, now 25, was invited to speak at conferences, consulted with policymakers, and featured in case studies at business schools. But she was also getting tired. Dad, I love what we've built, but I'm starting to feel like I'm living everyone else's dreams instead of my own. What do you mean? All these families are building businesses with their kids, creating these amazing partnerships, living this vision of working together. But I'm single. I don't have kids. I'm not building anything with a partner of my own. Emma had spent so many years helping other families that she hadn't developed her own personal life. Do you want to date, get married, have kids? I think so. But how do I meet someone when my entire life is work? And how do I know if someone likes me for me, or because I'm successful? For the first time since she was little, Emma seemed lost. That summer, Emma made a decision that surprised everyone. She took a sabbatical. I'm going to travel for 6 months. Not for work, not to study programs, just to see the world and remember who I am when I'm not trying to help everyone else. Where will you go? Everywhere. Europe, Asia, South America. I want to see how families work together in different cultures. But more than that, I want to figure out what I want my own life to look like. Emma's sabbatical turned into the most important year of her life, though not for reasons she expected. She met James in a cooking class in Italy. He was a teacher from Oregon, spending his summer break learning to make pasta. He'd never heard of Emma Thompson or Truck Dreams or Building Together. To him, she was just the American woman who couldn't roll gnocchi properly but made him laugh. He likes me because I'm terrible at cooking, Emma told me during a phone call from Rome. It's the first time in years someone has been around me when I wasn't competent or successful or helpful. James was funny, kind, and completely unimpressed by Emma's achievements. He was more interested in her stories about growing up in a food truck than her TED Talks or Forbes features. They traveled together for 2 months, and Emma discovered parts of herself she'd forgotten existed. She was playful, spontaneous, silly. She didn't have to take care of anyone or solve any problems. She could just enjoy herself. When she returned home, James came with her. Dad, I want you to meet someone. James was everything I'd hoped Emma would find. Someone who valued her intelligence but also brought out her sense of humor. Someone who respected her work but didn't define her by it. Someone who clearly adored her. At dinner, I watched Emma transform. Around James, she was relaxed, laughing, focused on the moment instead of constantly thinking about how to help other people. Emma tells me you two started with a food truck, James said. I'd love to hear the story from your perspective. I told him about the early days, the struggles, watching Emma grow from my little helper into my business business partner. James listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions, clearly trying to understand what had shaped Emma. You raised someone pretty amazing, he said as we cleaned up dishes. She raised herself. I just tried not to get in her way. 6 months later, Emma and James were engaged, but instead of a traditional wedding, they planned something that reflected their values. We want to get married at a Truck Dreams reunion, Emma announced. All the families who've become our extended family. Simple ceremony, potluck reception, kids everywhere. Are you sure? This could be your chance for the big, fancy wedding every girl dreams about. Dad, I've never been a big, fancy person. I want to marry James, surrounded by people who know me, who've seen me fail and succeed and grow. These families are our community. Emma and James's wedding was held in a park in Sacramento, surrounded by dozens of food trucks operated by families they'd helped over the years. Maria catered with empanadas, Carlos provided tacos, Jennifer brought vegan desserts. Emma wore her grandmother's dress, simple and elegant. James wore a suit he'd bought at Men's Warehouse. The ceremony was conducted by a judge, but the real meaning came from the community that surrounded them. During their vows, Emma said something that made me cry. James, you've helped me remember that success isn't about what you accomplish. It's about who you become. You've shown me that I can be helpful without being responsible for everyone. You've taught me that love means being known completely and accepted anyway. James responded, Emma, you've shown me that changing the world isn't about grand gestures. It's about caring about people one at a time. You've taught me that partnership means bringing out the best in each other while building something together. After they were pronounced husband and wife, the celebration began. Kids ran between food trucks. Parents swapped stories and recipes. Teenagers helped serve food and clean up. It wasn't fancy, but it was real. It was exactly what Emma and James wanted, a celebration that reflected their values and included their chosen family. The next morning, instead of leaving for a honeymoon, Emma and James announced their next adventure. We're moving to Oregon, to James's hometown. We want to start a family, and we want to raise our kids the way Dad raised me, as partners, not just beneficiaries. What about building together? It's time to practice what I preach. I've spent years helping other people create family partnerships. Now I want to create my own. Emma and James moved to Oregon, where they bought a small farm and started a program that combined James's teaching background with Emma's business experience. Farm-to-school partnerships connected local farms with schools, creating programs where students learned about agriculture, nutrition, and business while helping farmers with marketing and community outreach. Students spent part of their school day working on farms, learning practical skills while providing labor and fresh perspectives. Farmers got help with social media, community events, and direct sales. Schools got fresh food and hands-on learning opportunities. It's the same principle as everything we've done, Emma explained during one of our phone calls. Genuine partnership where everyone contributes something valuable and everyone benefits. 2 years later, Emma gave birth to twins, Sarah and Sam. Dad, I need to ask you something, Emma said when I visited to meet my grandchildren. How do you know when you're ready to include kids in your work? When the work becomes about them, not just for them, I answered. Why do you ask? Because I want to raise these babies the way you raised me, as partners, not just kids. But they're so little, and everyone keeps telling me I should just let them be children. Emma, there's no contradiction between being children and being partners. You were always a child first, but you were also my partner. The key is making sure their contributions are genuine but age-appropriate. Emma nodded, holding Sarah while Sam slept against James's shoulder. I want them to grow up knowing their ideas matter, that families work together, that success is something you share. Then they will, because you understand what that looks like. When the twins were 3, Emma started including them in simple farm tasks, collecting eggs, feeding chickens, helping wash vegetables. By age 5, they were greeting school groups, explaining what they were learning, showing other kids around the farm. They're natural teachers, James observed, just like their mom. But Emma was careful not to repeat some of the intensity of her own childhood. I want them to have choices I didn't have, she told me. I want them to know they can be partners in our work if they want to, but they can also just be kids who happen to live on a farm. Sarah gravitated toward the business side. She loved talking to customers at farmers markets, keeping track of sales, making signs for different products. Sam was more interested in the farming itself, planting seeds, caring for animals, experimenting with new crops. By age 7, each twin had developed their own area of expertise and genuine responsibility, but they also played sports, had friends, and maintained interests completely separate from the family business. How did you balance it all? I asked Emma during a visit when the twins were 8. By remembering that the goal isn't to create child workers, it's to create confident adults. Sometimes that means working together, sometimes it means supporting them in things that have nothing to do with us. Emma and James had built something I'd never quite achieved, a family business that truly served the family instead of consuming it. On the twins' 10th birthday, they made a request that reminded me of Emma at the same age. Can we use our birthday money to help another family start a farm? Sarah asked. We learned about food deserts at school, and we want to help people who don't have fresh vegetables, Sam added. Emma looked at James, then at me. What do you think, Grandpa? Should we help them start a non-profit at age 10? I laughed. I think they're ready for their first business partnership. The twins used their birthday money, plus donations from friends and family, to create Seeds for Everyone, a program that provided startup funds and mentorship for families wanting to start small urban farms or community gardens in underserved areas. Their first project helped a single mother in Portland start a backyard farm that supplied vegetables to her neighborhood. Their second helped a group of refugee families create a community garden that grew culturally appropriate foods while teaching children about their heritage. It's truck dreams for farming, Emma observed. The pattern repeats across generations. At 11, Sarah and Sam were featured in a documentary about young social entrepreneurs. They were poised, articulate, passionate about their cause. But they were also clearly still kids, laughing, interrupting each other, getting excited about simple things. How do you make sure they stay grounded? The interviewer asked Emma. By making sure their identity isn't dependent on their achievements. They're good kids who happen to do meaningful work, not achievers who happen to be children. Watching my grandchildren on screen, I realized Emma had solved the puzzle I'd struggled with, how to include children in meaningful work without burdening them with adult responsibilities. Sarah and Sam contributed genuinely to their family's mission, but they also had space to be kids. Their work mattered, but their worth wasn't dependent on their productivity. On their 12th birthday, the twins made an announcement that surprised everyone. We want to spend the summer working with Grandpa Jake on his food truck. Why? Emma asked. Because we want to learn where all this started, Sarah explained. We know our family story, but we want to experience it. That summer, Sarah and Sam spent 3 days a week working with me on the truck, learning the basics of food service, customer relations, and small business operations. But more than that, they experienced the simple satisfaction of working hard, serving people good food, and building relationships one customer at a time. Grandpa, this is where Mom learned to care about people, isn't it? Sam observed after a particularly busy lunch rush. What do you mean? You can't hide behind a computer or fancy presentations when you're working in a truck. You have to actually talk to people, learn their names, remember what they like. It's more real. At 12, Sam understood something many adults never figure out, that genuine relationships are the foundation of any meaningful work. Sarah, meanwhile, was fascinated by the business side. Grandpa, you're basically running a restaurant, a catering company, and a retail business all from this tiny space. How do you keep track of everything? Very carefully, and with lots of mistakes along the way. But you must have systems, right? Ways of organizing inventory and managing cash flow and tracking customer preferences? Sarah was right. I did have systems, developed over years of trial and error, but I'd never thought of them as sophisticated business practices. Would you like me to show you how I organize everything? Sarah spent the rest of the summer documenting my operational systems, turning my intuitive approaches into written procedures that could be replicated. Grandpa, you could franchise this. Not the food, but the methods. Other food truck operators would pay to learn how you manage everything so efficiently. Sarah, I'm not interested in franchising. Not for money, for impact. Think about how many struggling food truck operators could benefit from learning your systems. At 12, Sarah was thinking strategically about scalable solutions to common problems. That fall, Sarah and Sam returned to school with a new appreciation for their family's work, but also with new ideas about their own futures. I want to study business and agriculture, Sarah announced. I want to help farmers use technology to be more efficient while staying connected to their communities. I want to study environmental science and sustainable agriculture, Sam said. I want to help farms work with nature instead of against it. Both twins had found their own paths, building on their family's values but pursuing their own interests. Emma was proud but also a little wistful. They're growing up so fast. Pretty soon they won't need us anymore. Emma, they'll always need you, just differently. The goal was never to keep them dependent, remember? It was to help them become independent people who choose to stay connected. That Christmas, 4 generations gathered around Emma and James's dinner table. Me, Emma and James, Sarah and Sam. I want to make a toast, Emma said, raising her glass of apple cider. To partnerships that last, dreams that grow, and families that choose each other every day. To Grandpa Jake, who showed us that success is something you share, Sarah added. To Mom, who taught us that helping people is the best work you can do, Sam continued. To Dad, who showed us that love means supporting each other's dreams, they said together. James raised his glass. To the Thompson family tradition of making the impossible look easy. I looked around the table at these amazing people. My daughter who'd become a leader, her husband who'd become a true partner, and my grandchildren who were already changing their corner of the world. To small acts of kindness, I said. They really do change everything. As we clinked glasses, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. It started with loss, continued through struggle, and somehow led to this moment of perfect happiness. Emma was right. Small acts of kindness really do change everything, but not in the ways you expect. The TikTok reviewer's video changed our bank account. But Emma's wisdom about what really mattered, that changed our lives.